We are live. We are live. Everyone, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome to Emerge Notary Agency. We are live tonight. I have a special guest, a dear friend of mine, who's definitely in the luxury real estate market here on the East Coast in New York City. And we are live. Let me just make sure that we are all set up.
How exciting.
Okay. I think we're having a little technical difficulties with Instagram, but we live. Hold on, Nicole. Let
Oh,
me
this is
make sure
also
we all
going to
set up.
Instagram too? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I think I'm having some issues. I think I may not be able to do the live on Instagram. Let me just double check. Yeah, things are acting up. If not, just continues. Try to create a new Instagram stream. Yeah, we're just gonna just go through. As long as we live on YouTube, something's happening on Instagram. I had like a little issue here, but either way, we are live right now on YouTube. So if everyone here, you'll catch us on the replay. Once again, welcome. My name is Altavis from Emerge Notary Agency. Like I said, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you for meeting with us tonight. And definitely going to get into a few different trending topics, some market updates here on the East Coast in New York City. And I'm going to even touch on some notary tips for some of my followers and individuals that likes to hear my insight about notary tips. And we're going to touch bases on that. But to open up tonight's live, I'm going to first introduce my first guest, Nicole. Some of you guys have seen Nicole on my recent real estate expo that we did this past 2023, and she is in the luxury real estate market here on the East Coast, specifically in New York. So, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's quite exciting. I'm
Thank you so
always
much for
happy
being here tonight.
to
Yes, yes.
chat.
I'm sorry to talk over you. Go ahead, Nicole.
No, I'm always happy to chat. I joke that I'm kind of like a wind up doll.
Yes.
You can wind me up and I will just yammer, 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 yammer.
Well, we're gonna yammer together. But
I'm
right
here
now, I
for it.
know I got you, Nicole. But tonight we're gonna get into some market updates for Q1, and I know you have some insights on what's current happening, especially here. As we were just before we went live, we was talking about the current interest rates. And I wanted to get your thoughts and your insights about the current interest rates. I know for me, as a notary loan signing agent, I have been facilitating a few refinances. Not the best interest rate for some of the signers, but like these individuals, they have to make the best decision for them, regardless if the interest rates are not as fair as people are used to having them. But I definitely feel like people are doing refinances in Q1. Interest rates may not be the best, however, they are happening, as well as people are selling their properties across the nation. I just had something, a signer that I just facilitated actually today from Las Vegas, and last week it was from Texas. So things are starting to pick up. I did notice that Q1 came in, and there's a lot of moving and shaking on the loan signing side. But since you are coming
Interesting.
from the real estate industry where you are also representing individuals in the luxury market, I want you to share your thoughts, Nicole, on what's current happening in your market. And
You
introduce
know,
yourself
I
first for the
yes,
viewers.
so my name is Nicole Beauchamp. I am an associate broker at Sotheby's International Realty based here in New York City. I have been a
Hmm.
real estate broker for over 20 years. I think that's going to be my line from now on. I'm going to stop counting. And it's definitely has been really interesting in the weeks leading up to the end of the year and since the year has started. I feel like people have perhaps not developed a comfort with the current interest rates, but need to decide what makes the most sense based on their financial circumstances.
Hmm.
And, if they are renting and they've been longtime renters and they have the capacity to buy, trying to figure out what the inventory is out there and what
Hmm.
their purchasing power is now. Yes, there's a lot of conversation about the adjustment in interest rates that the Fed has been talking about in terms of cutting the Fed funds rate and how that impacts mortgage rates. And,
Hmm.
I think the initial conversations were that everybody thought the predictions were going to be sort of like in March, but it seems, and they just had a meeting today, that that is probably not going to happen in March. Maybe it's going to happen a little bit later down the line. But I think people are trying to figure out what makes sense for them, what inventory is available, and getting ahead of things if it means before there's more competition potentially as rates sort of come down. And will more competition mean that there will be more bids to compete against?
Mm.
Perhaps pricing shifts. So I think there's a lot of conversation of people trying to figure out what makes sense for their particular puzzle pieces. And I will tell you that I have felt it 1000%. I've spent most of my waking hours either on calls, in Zooms, emails back and forth, connecting my buyers to the appropriate lenders. I have clients who are not only trying to do things here in New York, but they are also considering their options in other markets. It all depends on their lifestyle and what's going on with work and with life and with family. And people are definitely in the making moves mode. And while I do work a lot in the luxury market, I work at all price points. In the last couple of weeks, I've put on luxury rentals, not so luxury rentals, working with first time buyers, working with people who are sort of stepping up and buying something, trying to figure out if they can buy something larger, people who are trying to figure out if they can go to another market based on their lifestyle changes, and sort of luxury buyers in the 10 million and plus. I have buyers who are thinking, let me see if I can find the right property, which then is going to turn into them either listing their current residence for sale or for rent. So there's definitely movement, and people are trying to figure out what makes the most sense for them in this sort of crazy market.
That's good to hear, Nicole, because I just, even though I know you focus on the luxury real estate market here on the East Coast and specifically in New York, and it's good to hear that you have a diverse, roster of clientele. So you, even though luxury real estate is your focus, you do branch out over, different price
Yeah,
points. So tell
luxury
me,
luxury is
mhm,
not the price point, it's really the service, right?
the
And
service, correct?
uh, you
Yes,
know,
right.
it's I am a firm believer in being a trusted advisor to all of my clients at all price points. I listed something a couple of days ago for just under $4,000 a month in rent. That's probably going to have a fully executed lease in the next couple of days. I'm listing, a great condo on the in Astoria on the waterfront. That's going to be a perfect first time buyer product. Low common
And for those that don't
charges.
know,
The build
Nicole, you stay in Astoria, Queens, correct? Astoria,
Astoria,
for like for the
Queens.
viewers, Astoria,
Absolutely. So
Queens.
like
Okay.
Astoria,
Mm-hmm.
Queens, which is going to be a great product, for great for first time buyer, great for investment, has low common charges, still has a
Mm.
tax abatement. I mean, your monthly taxes are less than your daily Starbucks.
Wow.
And that's pretty remarkable to still have in this day and age. And I'll be listing some other things that are luxury rentals, and some other luxury properties above 7, 8, 10 million. So really there's a whole wide range. And my every waking hour basically for the last couple of weeks has been spent in some conversation or consult. I was out with a first time buyer on last weekend looking at great inventory, and there are things out there because really it's on a case by case basis. You are looking at what is your monthly housing cost. If you are renting, can we find you something that will decrease your monthly housing costs while also allowing you to start to build equity?
It's good to hear. Nicole, now before we further the conversation, just tell everyone where do you currently, as far as representation um, for the company, you can just tell those, where do you currently work at right now?
Yes, so I work with Sotheby's International Realty based here in their New York City brokerage. My office is on Madison Avenue, just down the block from the Plaza Hotel. And I recently, for those who saw the podcast, I was at a different firm before.
Right.
And my focus working with clients is still the same. It's being a trusted advisor to my clients at all price points, and being able to connect them to the relevant trusted advisor through my personal network and the network of the brand that I work for in other markets. Like my personal network, between the combination of my personal network plus the brand, I have connections on 6 continents.
Wow.
I do not have
That's big.
Antarctica.
Not yet.
But maybe I do. Maybe I just don't realize that I do.
Not yet.
But I really have great personal relationships where someone can say to me, "I need someone in ABC market," and based
Hmm.
on who they are and my knowledge of their portfolio goals, I can say,
Hmm.
"Here is the great advisor that we are going to partner with to achieve that goal for you."
Now, you mentioned about your representation, on a global scale, right, as being in one of those go-to advisors. What have you noticed most recently, or maybe as we're currently in Q1, are there a lot of clients coming from the global international clientele, or we have a lot of people here in the States that's still purchasing at a high level? What are your take on that so far, or is it still too early to kind of put a pinpoint on that? What are your thoughts on
My
that?
take on that is that the global client is always attuned to working with their trusted advisor and identifying opportunities. And my personal experience has been that that does not really vary widely based on the market, because
Hmm.
if you have been working with someone and you are 10, 20 years in, and sometimes you're on the second generation, when something comes across my desk that is potentially interesting for a particular client, they're going to evaluate the opportunity no matter the market. And in markets like this, where often it appears that the everyday transactions are maybe on pause because affordability has been so sideswiped for so many
Yeah.
people when the interest rates skyrocketed, there's still opportunity for those individuals who maybe are have more cash to deploy.
Are we seeing more cash deals, Nicole? Or are we seeing more, finance deals, or is it a combination of both, especially for,
I think that
for
New
the
York New
market?
York City often has, I think, a larger percentage of cash deals than other markets, and in the luxury market, the overwhelming majority of my transactions have almost always been cash transactions. So I don't
Just
think that
because.
has
Okay.
changed. Yeah, that hasn't changed all that much. I know that in the last quarter of 2023, I think Miller Samuel had noted that cash transactions were at almost 68%,
Hmm.
and that was almost 18% higher that year over year. And that's normally around 40 to 50% for the broader market overall in Manhattan. But in the luxury market, it is generally majority cash transactions most of the time.
Interesting. Now, we would just, before we went on, we went live, you were just sharing with me a big deal just took place in the city as far as a
Yeah,
development. You want to share
it's
that with
really
me?
interesting because 2023 was an interesting year in the real estate market. Overall, transaction volume was down, but the luxury market did very, very well. And specifically, and when I think about the luxury market in Manhattan, that's thinking about 4 million plus.
Mm.
But the trophy segment, which is 10 million and above, had an extraordinary year. Probably the top three out of the last decade. I think were the numbers that were in the Olsham report, which is really super interesting. The top 10 transactions, closed transactions last year, ranged from about $51 million in Tribeca, and the highest closed transaction last year was $80 million for a duplex at 220 Central Park South, which is one of the on Billionaires Row.
Right.
And it's worth noting that of the top 10 transactions, six were on Billionaires Row.
I'm not
And
surprised. But you know what, Nicole? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to ask you
it's
something. Go
not
ahead. Proceed.
surprising.
Hmm.
And already mid January, there was a signed, there's a pending um, condo transaction mid January at over $100 million.
That's
The
big.
property at Central Park Tower, which is 217 West 57th Street, which is where it has the Nordstrom's at the base, sort of west of 7th
Right.
Avenue. That property was last
On 7th Avenue
listed
on the
at
west side. Yeah.
almost $150 million. So if you think about it, if the top closed sales transaction in 2023 in Manhattan was 80 million, and we have something already that's in contract at over 100 million as of mid January 2024,
And the year just started.
and the year has just
We got a
started.
just
we
started.
have a we
Wow.
we just started, and if we think about coming out of COVID lockdown, when the luxury market started to do really really well, and then the sort of everyday market really picked up after that. The biggest One of the biggest impediments I think that we have, and I think many people would generally agree, is the current interest rate environment that has people sort of frozen
Let's get into
in
that, Nicole.
place.
Let's get into that. The interest rates. Let's discuss the interest rates. What are your take on that right now? As far as like, I mean, nothing. We're
Look,
still at what
we
we was last week. We seven.
we don't
We,
we
yeah.
don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Nobody does. Nobody can fully predict what is coming. But if the anticipation is that there will be several cuts to the Fed funds rate in 2024 and 2025, which will then subsequently impact the mortgage rates sort of coming down, that
Mm,
in theory, the hope is will bring more buyers to the forefront. One of the many issues to consider is not just the interest rates, but we also there are some layoffs that have been happening at
yeah.
various firms that have been reported in the news. You've got Google and Citibank, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. So I think people in this environment are going to continue to be very conservative about their approach, and you will probably continue to see need drive transactions first,
Mm,
right? When you need to do something
right.
because there is either a death or a divorce or a move, the need driving the transactions. And then there will always be those individuals for whom there is the want that drives the transactions. And the inventory will impact both of those buyers. Because when you think about like the trophy end of the market and the luxury end of the market, it's what is the unique inventory that meets the trends in terms of wellness and design and all of those things that really matter. And then at the other end of the spectrum, the inventory has to be there that makes it compelling for someone to make a decision and a change. Things that may be sitting on the market may be a function of price, it could be a function of condition. And in an environment where there are high cost of construction, high cost of borrowing, you are less likely to take on something that needs significant renovation, as an example, even though there's great value to be unlocked in those properties if you have the ability to, to transact on them.
Some good insight and thoughts, Nicole, because like I said when we just opened up the live, I was mentioning that I had a few of clients, people like they're doing refinances right now, and I'm just the signing agent, so we really can't give our thoughts about it, but the current interest rates are pretty high still, but people are still doing it. But like you just touched on it, it has to be a personal need. It may not be
There
the
has to be a
best move,
personal
but you never
need.
know. Everyone has their personal preference on why they are doing a refi. Like you say, could be a
Everybody
death in the
has.
family, maybe some cash to pull out their property. So definitely a personal preference, and we
Everybody
still
has
here to
a
facilitate their
reason
needs.
why. Everybody has a reason why and what's driving them. And I
Exactly.
think, as a real estate broker and as an advisor to clients, it's my role, part of my role is to help distill what's going on in the market at a macro level, and then help you understand how that applies to you specifically and your needs and your wants and your desires, and then coming up with a strategy and an approach.
Which is golden because you need to have a strategy, or you'll make some moves that may,
You need,
you
yeah,
know, it can affect you down the line. But I think that's why it's good to have advisors like you to kind of give individuals what would be the best step for them if they're looking to maybe do a refinance, or like you said, a lot of your buyers too, they're going right to the cash, right? They're getting right to the
yeah.
cash. They're
It's
not
like,
even
do you
needing
need,
worry
do
about
you need to
lenders.
buy? Do you need
Mm-hmm.
to buy? Do you need to sell? Are you looking to make a move? If
Right.
you're moving and you're leaving whatever environment you're in, does it make sense for you to hold on to the property as a potential investment? And what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like? And it's about having all the right pieces to put it together. You need a notary. Okay, here's Altavisa and her services. You need a financial service. You need a mortgage broker. Here's a mortgage broker to recommend. You need a tax advisor. Here's a tax advisor to talk to. You need an attorney to talk to because now maybe you are leaving a home that was your home, but now it's going to be an investment. It's having the conversations about the tax implications, about the liability and the legal implications. It's putting all of these pieces together so that you come up with a cohesive strategy that makes sense for you.
I agree. I agree. And I think once people, especially when the new year starts, like even in my, my field of, business, now people are reaching out to me to do power of attorneys, they are
Yes.
like, we're doing refinances, they're doing affidavits for their, to update their bank records. So there's an influx of different needs, especially, when it comes to the financial sector, and the spaces that, we thrive in. So right now, as the new year starts, people start to update their documents. So there's a need base for everything. But like you said, you have to have a collective team of professionals who have experience and expertise in how to move things forward for you. If it's documentation, you know who your go-to person. If you're looking for a property, we know who your person is in the real estate market. So someone like yourself. So there takes a team to kind of get things done. And I think once people have, some good people, when it's time to get any type of like financial records taking place, real estate, mortgage documents, or like I said, the services that I offer, we are there to advise them and be their support system, when they're trying to get especially critical documents and sensitive documents in like tedious time, because everybody wants everything done in real time. You know this, Nicole, but we're only
Everybody
human,
wants
and
everything done in real time.
in
And
real time.
I was having a conversation with clients recently, and sometimes people ask, if there is a competitive situation, what can you do to make sure that you win? And the number one thing you can do to make sure that you win in any competitive situation
And what
is
is
to
that?
literally have everything that you need ready to go as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
that's literally it, because no one has time or the desire to chase things down, because that makes you wonder what else is going to go wrong, or what else is going to be missing, and how long it's going to take, and while we're waiting to try and finish this, we're missing out on other opportunities. So having the right team that can quickly get something notarized as it's needed, or quickly get the pre-approval done, or quickly get the contract out, or quickly get an inspector in, all of these pieces really, really matter, and they're all so intricately interconnected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. On that note, here we go. Remember this one?
That was easy.
Do you remember that, Nicole?
I
that
do, I do.
we telling our age.
I wish that
Yeah.
I had
I wish it was
an
easy.
easy button. I wish I
Yeah.
had an
Yeah.
easy button. And I tell people, you know, nothing is easy. It's
No, it
probably
is not.
in some ways much harder now, because the line between work and home is blurred for the overwhelming majority of people.
I think everyone can relate to that. Yeah.
People are working either entirely remotely or hybrid, with the exception of obviously
Or a
essential
combination.
workers, or a combination.
Yeah.
So it also means that you're getting emails, and you're having calls much later in the day or much earlier in the day, or squeezing it in, because people have now more time in some ways, because they're not constrained by their travel, they're not constrained by the commute, and you have to be really nimble.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nicole, you've gave some insightful information. I definitely appreciate, talking to you, especially about Q1. And I wanted to bring you on here, new year, new things are coming. And I want you to stick around, Nicole, because
Yeah,
I
I'm
want to
happy
kind
to
of bring
stick
you
around.
I
I'm
want to
happy to
bring you
stick
into
around,
my
and my
world.
little my
Yeah.
little guy has decided to join.
Nicole and her assistant,
This
Mr.
is this is my
Hudson.
assistant. This is my chief attention
Mm-hmm.
officer, Hudson.
Hey, Hudson. Okay, I'm gonna give him a role. But let's get into this, since we're gonna transition into like my world now, right?
Right.
Um, my notary tip. Now, I did a recent short over a week
Ooh.
ago, right? I did like a three-part series YouTube short, and just
Okay.
talking about how important it is to have a valid ID, and make sure that you record your in your notary journal when you're meeting with signers, and what key factors it includes in when you're meeting an individual to get something notarized. Let's go into this quick video, and then we're going to go into my tip for today. Okay.
Okay.
Always confirm the signer's identity by requesting an unexpired and approved forms of ID. Notary So tip. Pretty much what I was talking about. Hold on. So what I was just getting at was about my notarization tips, and like we was talking earlier, like Q1 comes in, everybody needs some type of different documents notarized. So it's been quite busy, but no complaints on my end because now, when it's time to show up, like you said, Nicole, you got to be ready. And I've been
Right.
ready, right, for this since January has kicked in. But here was something that I came across, a quick story time, like how does a bedridden person get an ID? Now, I had this experience like over a week ago. That's when I did that video. You see how cold it was outside New York. That's
Yes,
that week we had that storm.
that was
So,
that week we had the storm. Yeah.
and I was like, let me just go ahead and just create a quick video to share, with my notary community and for individuals who want to know, what the steps are. I mean, when they meet with a notary professional like myself or someone else, across the nation who does the same type of work that I do. But this particular situation took place. Nice signer. She was actually doing a refinance, right? However, Nicole, she was bedridden, and I had to communicate, clearly with the lender and the title company, and they kind of told me what the situation was with this individual. She was coherent, of course. She just right now she's disabled, and I think it's more of a terminal illness. So before I had to meet with her, had to inform her that she needs to find two impartial witnesses. They can't be related because when you're doing a real estate mortgage transaction, it has to be impartial witnesses. You can't have any family members
Right.
involved. That's like conflict of interest, right? So upon me meeting with her, I did inform her and tell her, look, you need to find two witnesses in order for me to facilitate the refinance signing appointment. She was like, understood, Miss Fleury. So we met, make sure we had to do all the power of attorneys and make sure the two individuals showed up, that they can say, her ID was expired, but they can say, hey, we know this individual, so we
Right.
acknowledge who she is, right? So as we went through the documentation, really nice signer, but she has complications. So I asked her, you know, how come when the ID got expired, what happened? She said, well, Miss Fleury, I didn't have, due to my situation, I need to get, I don't have my ID. So I did inform her what she needs to do moving forward because doesn't matter. You are a homeowner. You need to have some type of valid ID, and she didn't even have a
Right.
passport. So we did the signing. Both she had, the two individuals, to acknowledge that they, that she was who she was, and we did all the signing documents procedure. After that, I just told her just a few steps what she need to have. Number one, if your ID is expired, what you can do is, reach out to your local DMV. Here in New York, we have multiple DMVs within the five boroughs. So if Brooklyn can't accommodate you, you go to Manhattan, Queens, wherever, you fancy.
Right.
But sometimes, due to high volume, and Nicole, you know how DMV is, it can be a nightmare. And by her being a disabled, individual, it's going to be a challenge for her to leave her home. So what I did was advise her to maybe option one, get a power of attorney, get someone like she said, like one of her good friends, to she can sign off the documentation, a power of attorney, just to help her to get her ID, get it, a new one since the old one
Right.
expired. So she has option one to go get a power of attorney. And but first and foremost, what I always tell her, always contact your local DMV, because sometimes, due to like state regulations, depending on what state you live in, here in New York, you want to find out what are the documentations. But typically you can get a power of attorney as long as you get the right verbiage, and you can take it down to your local DMV. But I did tell her what she
Right.
needs to do is just to contact them, because one thing is, you don't want to get paperwork ready, you go down there and then they'll still reject the documentation, or it
Right.
delays for
Right.
whatever
Right.
reason. Or even, option two, contact the DMV again and see if they can have a representative to come and maybe help her. But typically nowadays, with everyone, like, it's limited staff, nobody's
Yeah.
working, and a lot of people, it's just a lot going on ever since, the pandemic, I like to call it.
But that's
you know
but that's
she has
yeah,
to
the
have
panini.
options. But you need to call the panini, right? But I just
Yeah,
gave her
the
that
panini. Yeah.
information because that was the first time I came. The panini, right? Because we don't want to get, YouTube. You can't say that
But
other
it's
word.
actually
But
really
I
a
did
really
inform her.
interesting. That's a really
Yeah.
interesting tip and point
Mm-hmm.
because in my world and line of work, sometimes we do have people who are unable to leave their residences. And it's good
Mm-hmm.
to know that these are some
Mm-hmm.
ideas because we can say, look, this is something that I learned from a notary in my network that should you come across this, there
Mm-hmm.
is a potential solution and here are some ideas. So that's actually, I did not know that. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and things change, Nicole, and also too a part of that power of attorney. Make sure that you have like a travel notary like myself and whomever can accommodate, because we need to make sure that when we meet with you that the documentation is stamped, sealed, and
Right.
notarized, and then you can take it to your local DMV. But I always advise people first contact your local DMV office and see what are the documentations. But most likely that should be the steps. And if they do offer a representative from the DMV office to come to meet with you, at your residence. But like I said, here in New York, I'm not sure if they're doing that any longer because
Right. But it is,
they just pretty much are overwhelmed at these departments nowadays. Go ahead,
but I
Nicole.
think that, the key thing here is that it is really important to always have some valid form of ID
Absolutely.
is your
Yeah.
overall point.
And
So
especially you see when you're doing real estate,
now
and then
now
here's the
I'm
thing
like,
too.
where's
The
my
lender,
where's my ID? Make sure I still
I'm always telling
have a
people that
current.
look at the expiration, look at your card, look at that expiration, because before you know it, it'll sneak up on you and you'll be like, oh my goodness. And it's always when you need that ID, when it's a critical time, when you have to,
It's always
present it,
when you need it.
maybe if you're
I'm over here.
traveling or
Now
you
I'm
need
over
to
here
get
going,
some type of,
where is mine?
some, you looking
I'm
for your
like,
ID,
let
Nicole?
me look, let me look right now before
I
I
know, right?
let me look right now. I know my passport is good.
Well, yeah, just check it out. Look at
Well,
it and just check it out,
wouldn't you
because
know it?
when that
This is the year my
expiration date
license
sneaks up on you.
expires.
Yeah, don't tell everyone, Nicole, we're live. Don't share that
No,
information.
but this
But
is,
you
but
know,
this
but
is,
I
this
was
is, this
what
is, this is good. This is,
it's coming up.
I probably would have forgotten, and now that I've looked, I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
putting that on my list of
Yeah,
things to do in the
just
next,
just just always check
next
it out,
couple of
and then
months.
also too, Nicole, check your passport as well. A lot
I
of
know
us we travel, and them 10 years.
my passport still has a couple of years. That one I'm very good at
Okay.
keeping tabs on. And this, I'm like, okay, done. Putting this
Yeah,
on
it's
my
very it's
list of
it's very
things
imperative to do that.
to do. But I always try
Yeah,
to
it's very
have
imperative.
two
Good.
valid
Hmm.
forms of ID. I keep
Yeah.
a valid passport. I also have a passport card.
Okay.
So I always have the passport book, the
And the
passport
card.
card,
Hmm.
and my global entry card, and my thingy, my other thing.
So you got your 4 points ID, so you're good to go. But this is definitely for for individuals, like if you get ill, is good to have that, or for even like
But
for our viewers and our
it's
listeners. As a notary, we it's always good to like share that information with the signers, and even you might see their IDs is coming up, approaching as it's about to be
but it's
expired,
really
and I know
easy
we
to
move quick.
forget.
Yeah,
It's really
and
easy
when it
to
comes
forget,
around,
and time moves
and
fast. Time moves
it
so
does, it
fast,
does.
and I think anything can happen to anyone. I mean, God forbid, let me knock on wood, but if something were to happen to me, at least I know that I have a few current valid forms because time moves fast. I forgot that it's 2024, so
Absolutely. And
time
one
moves
more thing,
fast.
Nicole, to add to that, for the signer, the lender wouldn't even move forward until she had two impartial witnesses, because according to them, especially in New York, they need to have those two individuals to support the documentation, or we couldn't even move forward with the refinance. So it's just critical that that we have to make sure we have our IDs, make sure they don't get expired, and if they do, you have to have some things in place, or what you need, or steps like what I just provided on this live, or how to approach that, and just have either a power of attorney and get a mobile notary to come out to sign that documentation, or to contact your local DMV, and they'll definitely
Yeah,
will provide you with the steps and tips on how to do that. So I just wanted to share that little
yeah.
tidbit tonight, my
That's a
notary
great.
tip, and I hope
That's a
everyone
great
takes that.
tip.
It's a
especially
great
also
tip.
for
And
people
also too, we
who are
want to make sure
caregivers.
everyone likes and go ahead, Nicole. I'm sorry. We were
People
both talking. Go ahead,
who are
Nicole.
caregivers.
Yeah.
This is, I think, also a great tip to know.
Yeah. Because it's a
Yeah.
lot of people,
So
and actually, you know what? Though one of them was her caregiver. The lady who was taking care of her, but of course she was in partial witness, so she was happy
right.
enough to just to make sure that the signer was able to get her documents, signed and smooth sailing, and we were good to go, and then the documentation was approved, signed, and we closed on that real estate transaction, what a refinance closing.
Yeah.
Now, before we move forward, we want to make sure that you guys out there, if you catch this video content on the replay, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. That also helps the channel grow and helps me, keeps me in the algorithm. So I just wanted to put that out. Nicole, we're gonna move on into something a little bit more fun, cool, because this week
Okay.
there's a few things taking place. I just want to get right into it. We are talking about trendy news, right? And I know it's like, what does that got to do with the real estate world and notary industry? It has a lot to do with it because we all love music or we love some type of form of entertainment
Yeah.
to get us through our day, right, Nicole? I mean, some
We
type of
gotta
form.
get through. We gotta
We
get
got to
through the
get through the
day.
day,
I
right?
mean, I am like walking around the streets of New York. I just heard the new song with Michael Bublé and
Okay.
Jason Derulo. It is
How's that
called
sound?
Spicy Margarita,
Okay. Now, is
and
that like a
it
Derulo? He's
it's
kind of
like
like more of
it's a
like dance and
it's a
okay.
collaboration. And if
Okay.
you remember the song "Sway" that Dean Martin used to sing,
That's a oldie but
so
goodie.
it's an oldie but
Okay.
goodie, and Michael Bublé also does a great version of it. And so Michael Bublé and Jason Derulo, the combination spicy margarita, I have had to try to retrain my brain because my brain wants to sing the words to Sway, but the song,
Okay.
it is very catchy and I am
Mm-hmm.
very into it. I am when I'm walking down the street, like I have it on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who like follows me on Spotify will think I've
They know
lost my
what's
mind
happening.
because
Yeah.
I often tend to listen to things and then I want to listen to like
Mm-hmm.
all of different versions. Like I love hearing new
Yes.
things. So that is like
Mm-hmm.
my current obsession. I've been listening to that song on repeat for like days now.
So for those who's in the real estate space, your colleague Nicole. This is what she's rocking right now. She's Michael
Yeah,
Bublé versus
I
Jason
love I
Derulo.
love some great music. I love great
Mm-hmm.
podcasts,
Okay.
and I have gotten
Mm-hmm.
more into audiobooks in the last couple of years, which were not my thing
Mm-hmm.
before. But we need things to do when we're not working.
Absolutely. And to get us through the day. But let's get into like a few of
Yes.
these nominations that I came across, which was really, interesting. But let me share something with you, Nicole. Did you know there were, I think, over, to my understanding, when it comes to like the Grammy nominations, it's over 94, I think, field sections. I didn't realize
94.
how long 94 fields of Grammy nominations, like categories.
Wow.
I know we had music out there, but not that. I mean, that is a lot of genre of music. So I was just scrolling through them. I'm like, I wonder what some of the notary signing agents or anyone in the real estate and mortgage industry listen to, like when you on your way to, to a signing or maybe taking mass transportation. And if you have any few, go-to songs that you rocking right now, just drop them in the comment section down below. But I'm just gonna get into a few that I've came across, like as far as these 94 fields of Grammy nominations. Let me just get into a few because I'm like a R&B type girl, but when it comes to R&B, I like neo soul. Like you got
Okay.
those type of artists that sing who's your favorite artist. Makes sense? So for me, just looking at this whole list of like, old and new, best R&B song, they got like I can't even get through them because there's so many different, like I'm kind of overwhelmed. I didn't realize how many songs is out there. I know SZA is leading. I'm not sure if you're into SZA. She's a young lady that's
I
out
mean,
right now.
I tend to
Yeah.
listen. Sometimes I listen to things and then I don't always remember what I'm listening to, especially like if I
Right.
listen to it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I like sort of looking and using like Spotify and Apple Music and things because if I hear
Okay.
things on the
Mm-hmm.
radio and I don't remember, or sometimes I hear it in a workout class, And
Yeah.
that's also how I'm like, oh, I really like that. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't know that's what that was.
Right. 'Cause
But
it's so
yeah,
many
so
new
very
artists that's coming out. It's a lot of
so
new
many.
starlets.
They're very
It's
hard to
and you
keep
can't
track
even
of.
keep up. You can't even keep
No,
up. You
I
got like
cannot keep up.
SZA, you got what's the young lady, Victoria Monet, like Summer Walker. It's a lot of people on this list. But I'm gonna tell you what I was looking at because was what we I'm at. I'm more like melodic when it comes to like music. Like I like this is a type of like I'm gonna show you into like acts like Robert Glasper. He is kind of like in that new era of jazz, where
Okay.
it's more integrated with like more soul R&B with some hip hop and poetry. Like R&B, I'm like Robert Glasper. If you've seen him in New York, he's like one of those guys that when he performs, he brings out some of the like
When
your
he
go-to
performs,
like
go.
neo soul acts. He's on go with it. Like, if you know Most
Okay.
Def, Common, like Jill Scott, Badu, the list goes on. He
Yes.
has worked with a lot of those type of premier artists, Bilal, you name it. He's definitely that guy. But it's funny, they got him in a category once again with Chris Brown, and I came across it like here we go again because last year he won. For I think I forgot which like how they merged like R&B. Like I think they can't find out like how to categorize a lot of different like when it comes to neo soul and traditional R&B. And Chris Brown was a little
Yeah.
tight because he didn't know who Robert was. I'm like, how we don't know who Robert Glasper was? But they made up. I think what happened was I think when the Grammys tried to categorize certain acts, they like to put a lot of people in one big pot, and then we
In
try to
one
figure
big
out
bucket.
who
Yeah.
should win. But the Grammys is a whole, yeah, one big bucket. But either way, they're in the same, I believe, in the same category again. So that'll be interesting though. But I would love to see another this act. Her name is Alex Isley. She's related to the Isley brothers. She has a song
Ooh.
with Robert Glasper and I forgot the other performer. That would be cool for them to win because I like to hear up and coming like new artists, and it's refreshing. And I think it's something good. Like we have our typical R&B starlets, but to see the up and coming emerging ones is kind of cool. So that would be kind of interesting to see who's going to take the Grammy Awards. I never sit for the Grammy Awards, Nicole. It's just too long for me, and half the time I don't know who's
I
winning and who
half
some
the
of these
time
people
I
are
don't. I
because
also
the main
don't know who
stars are
they
in the seat.
are.
We don't know.
Sometimes same.
And do we
I
care? I don't care
also
because it's
don't know
like,
who they are.
could-
But sometimes I love also watching like the
yeah,
fashion also, like watching
that's what
what
I go
people
to.
are
I'm for the
wearing.
fashion, red carpet. Yeah,
Have the red
we don't really,
carpet and
unless
sort of
because,
like the group
yeah,
chat as we're like, "Oh my god, did you see this? Did
yeah.
you see that?" I mean, it's great.
Absolutely. I'm here for it. And that's me too. Like the Grammys red carpet to me, a lot of artists is really like eclectic and next level. But I like to see like when they get ready for the SAG and like we going to like right now, the Oscar nominations. Here's another one. We got Barbie, we have Oppenheimer, and we got these others. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was into Barbie this year because if any girl growing up, you either had a Barbie, doesn't matter if she was whatever complexion Barbie she had, you had her, and that was just me. So I was kind of nostalgic when the movie came out. I'm not sure. I know what's his name, Ryan Gosling. He got nominated, but not Margot Robbie. So it's going to be interesting though.
Yeah.
I think he might take home the Oscar. I like Ryan. I think he's a good actor, and he played a great Ken. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean it's good. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I saw Barbie. I think as many of us did with many
Yeah,
of our friends, and we made it sort of like a night out or an afternoon
it
out.
was a big deal.
In my case, it was a
Yeah,
big deal.
yeah.
I mean, even I think I may have worn something pink when we
Yeah.
went to see it. And that's a big deal for me because I generally do not wear pink has not always been a color that I have loved. I've worn a little bit
Okay. What
more
about
of it
fuchsia?
in recent years.
What about fuchsia?
Yeah,
It
I'm
was kind of,
just I I'm very much into my muted color tones. And I'm laughing because I think tomorrow maybe
yeah.
I will wear I have this pink cardigan with red stripes. Maybe I will wear
Oh,
that tomorrow.
fancy. Don't get fancy, Nicole. What's tomorrow? Thursday? Well, that
I
should
have
be.
no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's gonna be he I believe he might take it. I think he might even take it home for the like maybe for the song too. I'm just kidding. That's it was just interesting, an interesting summer because when Barbie came out, then you seen the other one, Oppenheimer? Did you
I
check
did
that
not
out?
see
Was you
I
into
did
that?
not see Oppenheimer. I did not.
Yeah,
I
I didn't
meant
see it
to,
either, but
and then I
it's
didn't
leading.
get to.
I don't I didn't get
I
to it
may
either.
try to
I was
do
gonna I'm
some
gonna
catching
wait.
up. I I
Mhm.
sometimes will try to get to see as many of the Oscar nominees that I haven't seen before the
Mhm.
Oscars.
Right,
Um,
right.
I will see how much of that I can actually do.
Okay, so definitely, I think it's going to be interesting though, and I want to also to ask anyone what was your favorite movie? Drop it down in the chat. I mean, I was into the Barbie, um, and then you have like Color Purple that just came out in the last quarter of last year. I
I have not seen
believe.
Color Purple yet. I'm
Mm,
still, I think, very attached to the original. I don't
yeah,
know how I will
it's different.
feel about it's
It's
different,
different.
exactly, and I think that that is really the thing. I feel like there was not enough conversation about it really being different. It is not a remake, and I think there was a
Right.
lot of disappointment around some of that, but I will
Yeah.
go and see.
And another thing too, Nicole, what I think with the Color Purple was so much of them, doing the rollout for it and hearing so much feedback of what was taking place behind the scenes. I'm not sure if a lot of people just, decided maybe not to show up, but I enjoyed it. I think it was kind of like a hybrid, like they took Broadway with the original movie and they did kind of spin
Yeah.
it on certain things. So I think, you have to be kind of, you like Alice Walker. I mean, the book, it was,
No,
phenomenal.
and
You know what I mean?
I am a big
You know.
Broadway fan. I'm actually going to see Harmony the musical, which is
Okay.
unfortunately closing in a couple of days. But I'm going to see
Okay.
that, I think, on Friday or Saturday. I think they close on Sunday.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. But I just wanted to share some trendy news. I'm not sure, like, if our people within our industry, in the notary community and the real
I
estate
think
mortgage
so. I
industry,
think
like,
we all love
what?
creative and
Mm-hmm.
arts and music and and film. I think that, everybody is so multifaceted.
Right. And we can't always be about business, business. You got to have a little, you got to have a little joy in your life, right? So whether you into the music
Exactly.
thing, you into the movie thing, you into like art, you into anything that kind of, you can escape just to, to get you through your day. I think it's, that kind of mix is well rounded, or even a good book, whatever it is, literature. I mean, it's good to, have to kind of interject these type of, conversations, while we're
It's
still out
good.
here
It's good.
grinding and
I
get
love
into
a
that
great
business.
podcast. I love a great podcast. I love reading
Okay.
books. I actually, a couple of years ago, went back and again went to having a separate device, a Kindle, just to read. Because when
Hmm.
I'm reading, I just want to read. I don't want to be distracted by the
Really?
10,000 other things on, because when I'm on my phone, yes, I can use the Kindle app, but if I'm on the phone, I'm gonna go look at my email, I'm gonna go look at my Instagram, I'm gonna go look at TikTok and all these other things.
You're gonna be
Sometimes
all over the place.
I love a physical book. It's always my
I was
number
gonna
one
ask you because I'm still
preference.
into physical books, Nicole. Maybe I'm just old school with it.
One
Like I
thousand,
love a physical
one
book.
thousand
I don't
percent.
know.
I love a
I like
physical
to
book. I
scribble in it
love,
and take. Mm-mm.
yes,
Yeah.
I love to scribble and I love to take notes and I love to highlight. But also, when you travel a lot, you can't always travel with a whole bunch of books. So I'm trying
That's
to
true.
sort of balance a little bit of both.
Well, that's good to hear. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still like, I got to feel that book. I gotta like, ugh, I don't know. Maybe
No,
it's just
I
I
was
gotta
an
get into it.
early, I was an early adopter of ebooks.
Mhm.
I had an
Mhm.
early Kindle. I had one of the first Sony ebook readers, and but I also really love books. I have been a judge at book awards. I have been, I've led a book club. But I need to balance. I live in a New York City apartment, so I can't be surrounded by thousands of books. I mean, I could,
Right.
but I also can't. But also,
I
I
get it.
travel quite a bit. So
Mhm.
if I want to read, let's say I want to read, if I'm on like a long cross country or overseas flight, like I can
Mm-hmm.
knock out 2 books,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if I can knock out two
Wow.
books, let's say on an overseas flight, that's the flight there, the flight, that's 4 books right there.
Wow.
And so
That's a lot. Yeah.
I like having a Kindle, but I will almost always buy a book at the airport bookstore.
Just because,
Like
just gotta have it. Just gotta
I
have it.
am basically incapable of going into a bookstore and coming out without a book.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna
You
happen,
better. Well,
guaranteed.
I love, like I said, I love just the physical, the books. And I mean, Kindle, I'm there, but not really there yet though. But it's just good as long as we're doing something productive, and you're just learning, more about different genres of literature. And just like you said, you gotta have a little bit of like downtime and escapism, especially when you're out here, just doing things day to day. Like in our industry, it can be a lot, and sometimes you just got to just step away and just
In
take
any
care of yourself.
industry, you
The
need a little
mental and,
balance.
yeah, balance is very key, especially in these times. So it's good to know that we have a little, we do things to kind of escape, and we have little friends too, little furry friends.
I
So
have my little
Nicole,
furry friends.
I'm so glad we had this conversation. It was such an
Same.
insightful one. I really appreciate your expertise and about the market updates, and we got into some,
I love
notary
it. I'm always
tidbits
happy to
and some
chat.
trendy news. And I'm so glad we was able to chat. Now, before we go, Nicole, where can people want to, check you out, and where are you currently at as far as social media platform, or where can they find you?
I'm easy to find. My handles on pretty much every social media platform is at
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Beauchamp, or you can go to nikkisellsnyc.com and you can easily find everything from there. Market reports, all the things, but really I'm easy to find. I'm not that hard to find. But at Nikki Beauchamp on
Sounds good.
Instagram and Twitter and Threads and TikTok,
She's
and
everywhere, guys.
I'm sure I have missed something somewhere. And I'm also Nikki.Beauchamp at Sotheby's.realty.
Sounds good.
So
Well,
super
Nicole,
easy.
I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. For all of
Thank
you
you
guys
for
to
having
check us
me.
out on the. I know. Thank you for being here. I know we're late here on the East Coast, but we are up. We are ready. Right?
We're up,
Like
we're
I said, if you,
ready.
we're
It's
ready.
early on the West Coast. It's like 7 o'clock
Yeah,
on the West Coast.
they are right. They'll be okay.
It's
They're gonna
seven
be
o'clock
okay.
on the
But for
West
those who's
Coast.
gonna be
It's
checking
like
out,
mid-afternoon in Hawaii. I mean, it's morning in Asia. We're all over.
absolutely. We're all over. And with that being said, for you all who's checking in on the replay, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let us know your comments down below about your thoughts, what current trending topics we talked about, my notary tidbits tonight, and Nicole shared her market updates for Q1. In the meantime, have a good one. Nicole, we'll talk soon. You be good now.
We will absolutely talk soon. Be
Bye.
good. Bye.
Okay, bye now.